What's up guys, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's make a full review for the Romancing Festival Labelle banner that brings Labelle, a bow user with access to block damage, Tatyana, a multi-purpose debuffer with access to chase mechanics, Gustaf, a very strong slash and hit damage dealer for farming. Well, we shall start talking about Labelle. She gives the name to the banner. She is a hybrid user of wind spells, so you need to use the event weapon or craft a bow with wind element in order to take full advantage of the spells. She has very low endurance with 66% only, tries to focus on 4 different status, that being dexterity, agility, intelligence and will, and kinda suffers a little. Well, her agility could have been better because she's a debuffer, her dexterity is okay, but her intelligence is higher because her best nuke comes from intelligence. Now, moving on, for passives, we have Breath of Invigoration 2. When she lands an attack, she recovers around 200 HP and also 2 points of BP. That's the upgraded version of Breath of Invigoration. Getting 2 BP will be happening in newest styles, so that's actually pretty nice. Means that she gets 5 BP per turn, or even more, depending on the situations that we will be explaining later. Then the second passive, Madonna of the Dusk. On the end of a turn, she gets 25 points of Overdrive Gauge, and when she lands an attack, she has a 50% chance to chase with skill number 1. That I'll be talking more in a few. Then the last one, High Protect Tension, that decreases damage taken by 30%, increases damage potential by 20. So that's the only damage increase passive. And it's nice to have at least High Protect Tension to reduce damage taken. She's still gonna take a lot from physical, I believe, but at least she self-heals, that can help a little. Now, skill number 1, Azure Gale Blade. This is a single target spell, depends on the wind element. It will recover her HP by around 200 and also has a 25% chance to apply 1 damage block that lasts for 1 hit, and it stacks, and there's no turn limit. That's important because it's kind of her main gameplay mechanic. The skill itself is not that powerful, she's not here to do damage, but if she can stack many damage blocks, she can be used as a tank, but only 25% chance to trigger that special effect. But even when you use Azure Gale Blade, you still have 50% chance to chase again with another Azure Gale Blade. So that's important. And when she chases, she also recovers 2 points of BP and will also self-heal. It's more important about the 2 points of BP than anything else, but well, let's move on. The second skill is Rainbow Spread. This is a bow skill, so that relies on dexterity, and it's a fully AoE attack with the Power in 13 mod. That's not even important. And she has a chance to debuff the enemy intelligence by 20%. So 20% is nice, higher than 15, that's usual, and her intelligence is pretty high. 115% is higher than some mages. That means that she's probably going to land that intelligence debuff if the enemy does not have insane values for will. And since it's AoE, and she has access to 5 EP per turn, she can use this as much as she wants. It's a reliable intelligence debuffer when you really need one. But just have to remember that for a single target, it's much better to bring someone like Rock Bouquet, because she debuffs lots of things when you need, but if you have too many enemies, that may be an interesting decision. Skill number 3 is called Float in the Light. That is a 9 BP skill that deals slash and cold damage with triple S power. It has only 59 power, that's not high, but then she buffs herself intelligence by 30% before she attacks. That means that the final damage output will be closer to an end mod triple S attack. Also, if you are using this attack on Overdrive, she will always guarantee a chase with Azure Gale Blade. That's nice because it will allow you to recover more and also have a chance to apply more damage blocks. Also, by buffing intelligence, that means that all of her chase attacks will do more damage. Also, if you are on Overdrive, you still have a chance to trigger yet another Azure Gale Blade with her 50% chance to chase. So you can get 3 hits on Overdrive. That's actually pretty nice considering that she's buffing her intelligence. But She would do more damage if she was buffing intelligence with all of her hits. Instead, she prefers to heal and get BP. But it's nice because she gets 2 BP when she attacks. So remember that when you use Float in the Light, actually recover 7 BP that turn if you are on overdrive. So that means that it's pretty easy to use Float in the Light right after overdrive so that you can keep a very high intelligence buff to increase her damage potential. I'm not gonna say that this is good enough to compare to the likes of our real nukers, especially when compared to the likes of Silver. She is capable of doing slash and cold damage, or Galahad can also do the same in long fights. They are more geared towards resisting and doing damage. They also self-heal and they are more reliable than Labelle, in my opinion. Well, her main gameplay is to try to chase as much as she can and try to apply damage block. But I don't think that she has a very good resistance, so if she's not blocking, she may take a little higher damage. Moving on to the future. Right now, just having high protect engine should be enough, and in Bow Remembrance, we still don't have that many options for damage dealers or sustain, so it's also a good investment for those that feel like they need extra power there. That's her main gameplay. I think that if you are thinking about bringing her in boss fights, you should actually start using Azure Gale Blade first, and then when you reach the first overdrive, you start using Float in the Light to stack more intelligence buffs and do more damage later than on the start of the fight. Now, we can talk about inheritances, but in my opinion, they don't really matter. In her premium style, there is Millionaire that will become an S power attack with high mod that will do lots of damage, but only on turn 2. There is Tender Song that could be used as inheritance to cleanse someone in an emergency situation. From her platinum style, you can inherit Song of Earth, but this is also available on Roberto, a free style. You can also inherit Crystal Prism that can be used in future Remembrance where you need to instant kill targets, but then you also have Assassin Zero that's widely available in many different styles. So there's no much need of inheritance. She's a self-sustained character that works as she is, but I don't think that she offers too much, because if you are thinking about just the damage block, well, there is a character that can do that, and it's Melissa. And she just got released in Global X Banner. She damage blocks 1 time per turn and is pretty defensive and will just keep buffing the party. That actually offers much more than what you're trying to get with Labelle. There is other character with similar setup, that is the latest Undine, but we'll get more characters with design around the same ideas. That means that Labelle is not really unique, and her main gameplay is not even important going forward against hard challenges. Hence why I don't think that she's a must-have or a character that will bring an impact in real challenges. Only going to take an SS grade in the tier list, but she was pretty close to receiving an SS+, so please say here in the comments if you agree with me or not. Another important point is that the next version of Labelle from JP, it's actually pretty amazing. And she does not require inheritance because she's kinda locked on using different skills. This Labelle gets 2 BP in the end of a turn, totalizing 5. Her second skill uses 3, and she will cleanse all status debuffs applied to the party, add an attack boost that increases damage by up to 30%, and fuse the overdrive gauge of all surviving allies excluding herself. That's nice because some damage dealers have increased potential in overdrive, and they would do extra attacks sometimes, or additional effects like healing. And then, if she uses skill number 3, that is a nuke attack that gives a boost to resistance of all status elements, she will recharge the usage of skill number 2. And then she will just use that again in order to trigger overdrive to the party. You can even use this right after you already built your normal overdrive gauge by attacking with damage, so that you have 2 overdrives, one after another. So this character will be locked in using those 2 skills, so there's no room for inheritance. That means that the current Labelle does not affect the potential of the next one, in my opinion. The next character is Gustaf, and this guy has 120% STR, that being the highest one in the game right now, and 106% agility. To be honest, those are the only values that matter. His endurance and will are pretty bad, and he is just a farmer. He does not need to have high endurance and will, but it's also a problem. Many damage dealers work well in both farming setups but also remembrance, like the current Ice Cream Galahad. He works in both scenarios, but this Gustaf is just a little niche, wants to do damage when farming. The first passive already says that. Engage 4 starts the fight, and each round you have 50% damage increase. So, turn 2, it's over. So you want that your Gustaf clears wave with his attacks. Then the second one, Strengthened Bravery 3. When HP is full, damage increases by 15% and starts the fight with 13 VP, so that he has access to good cycles. And fired up, 4 increases damage potential by 40%. That means that he has access to 105% damage increase to all of his attacks on the start of each wave. Now, skill number 1 is called Sunder. It's an 8-power attack with 3 BP. That is just something that can be used as leftover if you need to reach turn 3 or wave 3. But skill number 2, Rising Blaze, is the most important skill, because this hits a column of foes with slash and heat damage. It even has a chance to stun, but that's not even important, because, well, why would you want to stun if you want to kill the enemies? But since he has very high status and good damage potential, it's pretty easy to solo with Gustaf some events. So, column is not that hard to find for slash, but it is for heat. I could say that this Gustaf is a very similar style to Leonard, but Leonard is even better. And even then, I didn't want to pull for him because he's a little too niche. You can look and they are pretty similar. They have a focus on STR and agility, but Leonard has a row attack, while Gustaf has a column attack. Both have the chance to stun. But there's one thing that benefits Leonard. When he kills a target, he gets 3 BP back. That means that he can actually use Lion Dash 3 times in a row and solo story as well. While Gustaf will only solo events, because those are usually about 2 waves only. So, in general, Gustaf offers less potential than Leonard. Moving on to the third skill, Burning Knight. For 13 BP, you have a 4S attack with 81 mod. That's pretty high on the damage calculations, and it's slash and heat. So pretty nice to have double elements. That means that even if you are just doing neutral damage, this Gustaf should be a very strong damage dealer when farming or on Final Eisen, for example. But it's still not bigger damage than, for example, people like Rofus, when hitting both weaknesses, like Triple Crush Gustave, or very similar damage output to someone like Silver when she chases her attack. So even when it looks pretty good, I have to say that it's just pure damage. You cannot take anything else out of this Gustaf. So, well, there is some inheritance that could work, but like this second style of him has Marvelous Slash. He could use this 3 times in a row if he wanted. But that's just the power damage, right? The most interesting thing is Flaming Steel Wave, because this one, he uses a full AoE attack, then buffs his STR, and uses a single target attack. So depending on some situations, he can actually use this Flaming Steel Wave to clear minions and then focus on the boss. But that's more for those situations where there's only one wave of enemies. Because after that, he's just going to use Sunder. Or on raid as well, depending on, well, if there are multiple enemies there. And from his first limited style, you can also inherit Dual Cutting Lunge. This is 6 PP, that means that he can use this 3 times in a row. And you could actually bring him into raids on Conquest, and that would just scale pretty well. He buffs his STR by 40%, and then he just uses this 3 times for pretty big damage. Problem is that, well, he will just die easily. That may not be a problem, since sometimes we just prefer to die fast on Conquest by just farming faster. That usually gives you more results. But there's nothing else about Gustaf. He will be used for column damage against heat or slash, and also as an opener if you want to use him on one wave scenarios, or you can save his attack and clear the first wave with someone that uses a fast attack, or uses a formation where it attacks first, and then Gustaf is used on the second wave with his Burning Knight attack. That's gonna be lots of damage, but, well, since Gustaf is just farming, nothing else, I don't see much value on him. I still cannot deny the raw power of the character, hence why he's taking an SS Plus grade, but it's another character that it's easily skippable and will lose potential over time. The last character is Tatyana, and she is a debuffer, so she requires high intelligence in order to apply debuffs. That's good, we have 110%, that's pretty close to current mages. Her STR is not that high, just 102%. Her will is okay, she's not going to be easily inflicted with ailments if you are bringing buffers. Her endurance suffers a little, and her agility could have been better to attack before bosses, but 95 is okay, I guess. Let's talk about the second passive first. When she lands an attack, she recovers her own HP by around 200 and buffs her own STR by 15%, trying to fix the problem of having low STR. Then she has our wall defense 6, that decreases damage taken by 40%. Now we will move in the skills. The first one is called the Hammer Bop. This is a full AoE attack with 3 BP cost, that means that she has this available at all times, and B power only. Then there is a chance to buff the target's STR by 15%. Well, the chance is pretty high, since her intelligence is good. It will only miss if the enemy has insane will. Then the second skill, Spin Pressure. For 6 BP you have another full AoE attack, this time it has C power, and it has a chance to debuff STR again, this time by 20% on max level, and also debuffs Dexterity by 20% on max level. That's nice because it carries 2 different effects, and if you look on the past, well, we have someone like Bune, or even Dahao, that had a version with Heaven's Breeze. This was a single target spell that could debuff both agility and dexterity. In this case, the status are a little different, but it was only 15%. A single target skill. And now we have a full AoE one with 2 debuffs on higher values. So I do believe that it has some very nice utility here. But we have to discuss this a little further later. Then the third one is called Great Dolphin Show. For 9 BP you have a column attack, this time it's blunt and cold. With double S power, that's good enough for the cost. There is a chance to debuff the target's STR by 30% on max level. And the same for Dexterity, 30% on max level. So, STR and Dexterity are her targets. There is something that needs to be discussed. STR is a main status for damage most of the time. It's also used as a currency for martial arts. Dexterity is used as a main damage type for any types, like bow, guns, and there is also a currency involved. It's made for those fights where the enemy uses like gun skills mixed up with sword skills. I remember the Tone Lord boss that you have to fight before you unlock the battle with Egg, that you required debuffing STR and Dexterity. So in those situations, Tatyana would be amazing. You can just go and focus on Great Dolphin Show and try to debuff 30% of both status right on turn 1, so that you can decrease the damage and sometimes even evade some of the attacks. Okay, now let's get back to the first passive, call it Another Bop. We needed to understand the skills first to get the full potential of Tatyana, because this allows 3 different chances to chase with her skills. Well, all of them will be triggered on rank 1, we need to discuss this. So, when she uses any of her skills, she has a 50% chance to chase with Hammer Bop. That is her AoE attack. In this case, it would only debuff 10% of STR. Then she has 37% chance to chase with Spin Pressure. That will debuff, in this case, 15% of both STR and Dexterity. And then she has 25% chance to chase with Great Dolphin Show. That will debuff STR and Dexterity by 25% in this case. So, if you're using Hammer Bop, that's the cheapest skill of her, you have a chance to chase times. Any can happen, both can happen, 3 can happen, and that's all based on RNG. That means that you can also just use a normal attack and you still have a chance of triggering those things. And RNG is on your side to give you at least one chase on average per turn. That increases her damage potential because she will self-heal and buff STR on each hit. You could just start a fight and then try to get the good RNG of using Great Dolphin Show, and it chases again with another Great Dolphin Show, so that you can start the fight debuffing STR and Dexterity by 55%. That is 30% because the skill is maxed, and then the chase is rank 1, only 25% debuff. That's pretty big, right? It is. So you still have a chance to chase with the other attacks, so you will decide which is the best decision. So, a very interesting character with an interesting mechanic. She would have benefit of having the cold element in all of her attacks, in my opinion, but that's what she is. She's not really made for damage, but she can actually pack some damage just by chasing multiple times and stacking SDR buffs. She also has our all defense 6, that means that she's not going to die easily if you need to bring her on hard challenges, and especially on remembrance. Her passive style was also strong on remembrance, but she didn't have any damage reduction passive and was kinda easy to die. The current version is the best one, and you can actually use any of her passive skills in order to just trigger the chase mechanics. So there's lots of potential on this character if it was not for the case that debuff strategies are not meta anymore. We are using the newest version of Rock Bouquet right now because she debuffs all status. And it's not just that. They gave her something else because they knew people will want something else. That something else is that attack down that decreases the damage potential of the enemy by 15%, allowing you to resist more and survive with your party. So that's interesting and something extra. While Tatyana will rely on the enemy not using the 5 weaknesses, or if they have a more scripted usage of the 5 weaknesses. Some bosses have. They will try to remove debuffs on turn 1, then again on turn 3, or maybe every 3 turns, or when you reach their zone of their HP, but there's just one problem. Some bosses will trigger the 5 weaknesses based on how much you debuffed them. I remember that Creator had at their zone, it was probably 30% or something. So if she cannot control her debuff levels, you will just hit that their soul all the time, and then it will become a nightmare because your boss will always use the 5 weakness. If it uses before it even attacks, you don't get much value out of this. Tatyana is interesting because as designed, she could have theoretically break some bosses by debuffing so much that they wouldn't just do enough damage on you anymore, or they would just start miss if they have accuracy based on dexterity. But if she also loses control of the debuffs, then bosses will use the 5 weaknesses, and if they do that before attacking, well, what Tatyana is even doing. So that leads to some limited usability of the character on real case scenarios. As for inheritance, this Tatyana actually does not need any. She just works as she is. But in the future, you can actually use Hasty Hammer for stun. She's gonna stun Kazinsi super easily. Gongringer is a stronger triple S attack if you wanna use on overdrive. Then from her Halloween style, Sucker Strike is a free skill so that you don't actually have to use a normal attack, but it won't matter too much. Or you can also get Plush Implosion because this will give her morale up and all the chase attacks will do more damage. But I don't see a need for any of those skills, to be honest. So Tatyana is good. If we still leave it the debuff meta, she will receive a triple S grade. But that is not the case anymore. So based on all her potential, and at least she's still a pretty good damage dealer for remembrance if you are having difficulty with clubs, I think she deserves an SS plus grade as a good utility character. Now, going back to the banner image, is this banner worth summoning for? Well, in my opinion, no. I will be giving this banner a bronze award as well, because I see lots of limitation here. We had in the past damage dealers that could also be used on remembrance, but Gustaf cannot. He's just a damage dealer for farming. Labelle is a character with a design that does not really fit that well in hard challenges for global because we have better utility. And Tatyana in theory is amazing, but still will not be used in all scenarios because the debuff meta is no more and she may actually brings problems when trying to debuff bosses with too high values. So it's a kinda easy to skip banner, but if you also decide to pull, well, Tatyana is the more interesting character in my opinion, followed up by any of those two characters that in my opinion will just be easily replaced in the future. So I will not be pulling, and that's my opinion. What is yours? Please see here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. Want to support the channel? There are links on the description of the video. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.